anybody keep playing ball when they know the game is rigged? It's on my mind. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Josh Button Podcast. This is episode 29, and I am sincerely wondering today, more than ever, why? Why would anybody keep complying when they know they are being led down the road to tyranny? If they're not already under the thumb of a tyrannical government and a tyrannical force behind them, that is absolutely not out for our best interest. That is, well, only interested in enslaving us and profiting off of our hard work, long hours, toil, sweat, tears, the whole 9 yards. Why would anybody file their taxes and pay these pedophiles and these corrupt politicians that are blackmailed and owned and are laundering money through foreign wars and are cheating us when it comes to their own stock interest and their investments? And insider trading in DC is absolutely rampant. It's been proven over and over. And they've obviously, tried to ramp up IRS and tried to spend on a ton of new agents. And fortunately, that was recently basically revoked because we allocated the funds to go to Israel. But they keep sending all this money overseas, and there's people here struggling, and inflation is crazy. And I'm just wondering, why would anybody participate in this by choice? Why not put the food on your table? Why not have your own family's best interest in mind? And, let the consequences come where they may. Forget it. Why play ball? I really want to know. There's tons of people. I saw a post the other day about the people and the percentage of people that cannot afford to pay their taxes anyways. And it's crippling the system. It will inevitably cripple the system. And we can only thank the powers that be for this. So, they did it to themselves. They've put us into a no choice kind of situation where it really is. You choose to live like a human being with a little bit of dignity, or you go and bend over backwards to work all day, every day for them. It's not right. I spoke about it during the Thanksgiving podcast about, there being plenty for all of us. There's plenty to go around. There is an abundance here. There's plenty of space. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of ways that we can take care of our own. And more than America first, I think all the countries in the world should be thinking about their own first. Take care of your own people. Take care of your families and your friends and your neighbors, your community. So what is it going to take? What will it take for enough people to engage in mass non-compliance to completely cripple this system to the point of no return? And I'm not talking about straight up anarchy and chaos. I'm talking about the implementation of a better and more evenly distributed access of power / economic system. Have you noticed what's going on with Bitcoin? A lot of people in the truther community have turned a blind eye to Bitcoin, did not possibly believe it could be a safe hedge or anywhere to store their funds because of its technological it's unknowns. Most people that have spoke about it negatively have spoke about it because of how much is unknown. But Satoshis are going up. Bitcoin price is going up. It's gained on gold. It's gained on everything else that's going up as the market tanks and as the fiat dollar, dwindles in importance and in value. So have you hedged your bets with just a little bit yet? I don't own much, but I do own some Bitcoin, and I own that because, the way that it's been taught to me and the things that I do understand at this point about Bitcoin, to me, it presents the only option and one of the only options to completely eradicate the evil usury / fiat system that has enslaved us all, and these crooked clowns at the top that will just print and print and print and print and inflate everything and leave what we have in hand useless and render it, worth nothing. And why should we? Why should we trade so much of our time for a useless currency and watch the situation get more and more grim when there is possibly a silver lining to the entire issue in itself? Yes, gold, silver, buy your precious metals, and hopefully they rise to the point where, yes, if you're holding it, you've done something wise, as opposed to putting it into a corporation that will most likely drown itself in its own liberal woke ideology and it's greed. It's straight up greed. These companies that have, pressured us into making irrational decisions and to believing absurdities and doing things that just do not make any sense are going to bankrupt themselves sooner or later. The writing's on the wall for so many of them. And there's only so much they can do when they see it crumbling. It's crumbling before their very eyes. And they're kicking and scratching and clawing and fighting to, well, get us to spend more and take more away from us to keep them afloat. And I just don't and cannot participate. There's so many things that, years ago for myself, I realized I am in an endless chase of things that don't really matter, things that I'm going to end up replacing anyways, things that fall apart, things that I don't need, that just sit there and are useless to me. And we have all been trained to be good consumers and compliers with a system which keeps us consuming to keep debt growing and to keep the people with real wealth in, well, in ease and control. And in a situation where they have absolutely no reason to spawn change. We have to spawn change. We have to absolutely positively put our foot down and go, I will not participate in this endless cycle of consumption that just leads me to a shortened, non-conscious existence, to a life that's really, it's just overshadowed by stress. Literally, that's all it is. Work all day, work 7 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever your job is, just to make ends meet barely and to buy things that really will just fall by the wayside. And watch all these prices go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And it's just not sustainable. We have to understand it's just not sustainable. So I haven't podcast or produced a podcast in a couple weeks. I did record one and I had a technological issue when it came to uploading, and I realized something, that in that process a lot of things I have already had removed from the internet and I've had strikes against my account. So there's a lot of things that I will talk about on here that they're just not gonna fly. They're not gonna get by the censorship and the regime who's in charge and does not want to be criticized. I am aware of that. So I am kind of splitting my energy at the moment. I'm going to go two different ways with this. One, the Josh Button podcast that I put here on Spotify and Apple and wherever you listen to your podcast, and YouTube as well on the channel I have for it, will be my thoughts, will be the headlines and the current events and the things that, are on my mind, the things I need to vent just to get off my chest and to talk to people about, so that, at least I've spoken. The reality is I felt the need to speak about these things to more than the limited network and the small audience that I would entertain every day and my friends and family. And that because I saw the ramifications of people that were not engaged in conversations about these things from a couple of years ago. The consequences of people that had nothing but mainstream parrots around them and listened to nothing but the accepted narrative. And it was absolutely, positively, it was disgusting. It was shameful to see people angry at their neighbors for not socially distancing, to ratting on their friends' kids for not wearing masks, and to practice absurdities because they were led to believe absurdities. And it I've said it many times. If a person or persons can believe and be made to believe absurdities, they will commit atrocities. And that's exactly what we've witnessed. All of us firsthand. I witnessed atrocities. And I never want to actually feel that I've held back or have any sense of possible guilt for not sharing absolute fact that could prevent absurdities and atrocities. The children on the playgrounds with the mask. It blew my mind. It still does. The parents that were completely irrationally afraid and just polluted their children's minds with that and really traumatized these kids. I mean, some of them will never know that this is abnormal, but their reality is so far-fetched from mine. It is so far-fetched from what I believe we should have, what we should be living here as. We are capable of so much, but we are so blinded by fear sometimes that it limits us in so many different ways. I can never, ever, ever put that on myself, that I didn't share information or I was afraid to share information or censor myself because of consequences from, well, the people that profit the most off of us being silenced and silencing ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have to throw caution to the wind in that regard to save our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, our communities. There are so many people that are still blindly and aimlessly following the advice of psychopaths, absolute maniacs who have your best interest is the furthest thing from their mind, the furthest. Mass noncompliance, it is the way forward. Checking out of the fiat system, destroying the bankers that have put their thumbs upon all of us, that instead of ending slavery with Lincoln and the stories, the juggernaut of lies that we've all been taught, and pushing us into a system where we're led to believe these false identities and we identify as something that we aren't. When we are flesh and blood, we are man. We are the children of the Creator, and we should be living free from tyranny and in abundance. And the system that has been placed upon all of us is the opposite of that. And it would only get worse without tools like this, without the ability for people to communicate the reality. Communicate reality. And this is far from over. It is far from over. But there is a silver lining, ladies and gentlemen. And everybody likes to persecute Donald Trump or worship him, one of the two. And I'm not ready to do either, but I will say this, that presidency opened the eyes to so many about so many things that just would not have been brought to the attention of the masses previously, or was planned never to be brought to the attention of the masses. If Hillary had won, the situation in this country and in the world would be drastically different. If Trump was never commander-in-chief, wow, what a completely different reality we would all be existing in. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you hate his guts or not, whether you refuse to believe in hope that a lot of us have and hold dear at this moment in time, you have to admit that that man in that presidency opened eyes to the reality that the establishment was against anybody that presented things that were for the better of man and for the better of our country and the individuals in our country. Look at the border now. Look at what he wanted to do to it. There's just so many different layers to the message of America First and his foreign policy and his economic advice and decision making that went counterintuitive to the mainstream media and to the messaging and to the propaganda that was present in 2016. This is actually one of the things that I think most truthers, or a lot of truthers, hold really dear to their hearts and close to their minds all the time now is that, oh, no matter what you're going through at the moment, no matter how bad you think it is, just imagine if he never came onto the scene, or if his ideals never came to the public front and center, and were never debated and were never conversed upon. If January 6th had happened organically, as opposed to this being a FBI setup for patriots, if Hillary had gotten in and actual American patriots and rebels decided to fight back because they knew that what was being done was to drown us, to destroy us. If an actual uprising started to happen, the bloodshed and the absolute chaotic warfare within our own country would have been unimaginable to most people. We would not be able to fathom what would have happened. And the setups by the deep state, by the people that were working on behalf of these bankers and the powers that be, and I don't care what you want to call them, it's evident, they would have been at war with all of us. They would have tried their best to squash us. So anyways, on my YouTube channel, I am going to start working on a little bit more long-form content based around health and wellness. Age-defying fitness is I mean, it's a major interest to myself. I'm so fortunate to have lived my wild and crazy 20s and partied and was very social and traveled around the world and lived in amazing places, but also become aware of all of the things that I needed to prioritize to make the back half of my life as well as high quality as possible. I want to be mobile, and I do not want to be immobilized. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to live in abundance. And I want to avoid the health outcomes that are, I mean, they've become such a norm now. The things that most of us witness around people as they age, I just couldn't have for myself. I'm not alone. There's a large community out there of biohackers and health and wellness people that, have a lot of different things that they both apply to their lives so that they'll have glorious aging, and so that they can somewhat be age defying and be fit as they get into their last half of their life. But I'll also have little individual things that I've stumbled upon or was fortunate enough to receive from, thought leaders and from athletes that I've implemented in myself. And jiu-jitsu obviously is a big part of my life, and I will definitely focus a great deal of attention onto the kind of training that I did prior to getting into jiu-jitsu that perfectly prepared me for it, and the kind of training I do that coincides with my jiu-jitsu and my jiu-jitsu journey. And I am in my mid-40s. I will be 45 in less than 2 months. That's crazy to think. Crazy to say. However, I do not feel that. And, well, most of my training partners and my friends don't think I'm that either. And I don't know what you want to label it. Age defying is fine by me. Remember the movie Benjamin Button? I know I'm not actually going to go completely backwards like that character, but I do envision a 40s and 50s where I'm doing things, and 60s for that matter, where I'm doing things that most people aren't. And I feel so fortunate to have fallen into the communities that I have that have kind of supported me in this belief and this desire. But now I need to give it back. I need to share that. The details of the things that I've done that have profoundly impacted my life, that have served me so well. So I will put a little bit more effort into actually making them palatable for viewers on YouTube. And I want to put those videos out on my YouTube channel specifically because it's an easier place for me to go and just create a video and have some editing assistance. I'm trying to learn how to edit, have some assistance and learn that process as I go. And, put together something that is going to be educational, informative, and will be me sharing, but will be a little bit more palatable to viewing as opposed to just listening to a podcast or listening to me rant about the things that are on my mind at the moment. But here on the podcast, I also want to really start putting intention into picking the brains of other people and having some guests on. So if you have anybody that you think I should have conversations with regarding the current events, the crazy politics, the world as we know it now post-COVID, or any of my interests, jiu-jitsu, personal training, health and wellness, ancestral living, carnivore mentality / eating animal-based foods, hit me up with them. I'm open for those recommendations for sure. But yeah, I really wanted to come in here and ask today, what is it gonna take for everybody just to opt out? Just to opt out. Get some Bitcoin, get some gold, get some silver. Me and my friends joke all the time about getting ammo. Stockpile your food. Get yourself some backyard chickens. Start getting eggs from them. There's just so many different things that we can do to help support ourselves, our family, our friends, our local communities. It's better than working and just, overworking ourselves to comply and to support those that we know do not have our best interest. It's painfully obvious, especially places like California. Come on, man. You can't go out your front door in most places in California without stumbling across homeless people who are being incentivized to be that way. Drug addicts who are being incentivized to stay on the streets and be drug addicts. And criminals who are being incentivized to commit crimes. Let off without any punishment. There is no accountability. And the people that are making these decisions are the last ones that are being held accountable. Opt out. Do not comply. It's way overdue. I'm Josh Button. This is the Josh Button Podcast. I am happy to be back with you guys. And I am going to start scheduling this as well. I gotta decide between Mondays and Fridays, or maybe Mondays and Fridays, and really put forth effort to have a strict schedule for these, so you know when to expect me, and so that I prioritize that time to get here and kind of go off on the microphone. Anyways, thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you're on my YouTube. I don't know what the process for subscribing on Spotify or Apple is, but follow me along, and I will talk to you all again soon.